From the nonpartisan Maddy Institute and the California channel at the state capitol, this is a Maddy Policy Brief.
Welcome. Every 2 years, the California Legislative Analyst Office compiles a comprehensive look at the state in a publication called CalFacts. The California analyst, Mac Taylor, is here to talk about some of those findings. Welcome, Mac.
Welcome.
So let's start with California's economy. Just how big is it?
California has a very large economy. We put out about $2.2 trillion in our gross domestic product, and people say, well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, it's bigger than Italy's output. It's bigger than Russia's output. We would be the 8th largest country if we were on our own. So the state produces an awful lot. We're a very large economy.
And just as a comparison, I was reading your report and you were saying that comparison to Texas, we're 2.2 trillion, Texas is 1.5 trillion. So we're substantially larger than Texas. I guess some things in California are bigger than in Texas.
There we go.
So what about income? What do Californians generally earn, and how is that income generally distributed? I mean, is there a big spread in income, and you would think that the income is maybe higher in California than the rest of the U.S.?
Exactly, and in one of the charts that we have in CalFacts, we compare different points along those spectrums. So first of all, if you take the median, half the people earn more, half the people earn less. California is about 60,000. For the United States, it's 52,000. So we're richer on average than the rest of the country.
Substantially.
Also at the high end, if you took the 90th percentile, the point at which you have the highest 10% of people, we're at about 177,000 compared to the nation's 150. So we have a lot of wealthier people too. So our spread is much bigger. But even at the low end, at the 10th percentile, it's 13,000 compared with about 12,000 for the rest of the country.
Well, let's talk about the lower end and poverty in California. How big a problem is it?
Well, poverty is a significant problem. Under the old way that we used to measure poverty, California's rate was very similar to the rest of the country, about 15 to 16%. However, there's a new measure that some people are looking to, and it both adds in various other forms of income that weren't captured under the old one, but most importantly, it adjusts for the cost of housing. And California has extremely high housing costs. So if you use this measure, we're at like 23% compared with the nation's less than 15%.
So actually we end up looking much worse.
Exactly, because of those high housing costs.
Okay, and so I think the original one was called the official poverty measure.
Right.
And this thing's called the
Research Supplemental Poverty Measure.
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but it's more specific to California.
It adjusts for each state what your relative housing costs are.
Right. A major source of wealth here and everywhere probably is a person's home. What's happening to home prices in California?
Well, we have a chart that really shows you the roller coaster that housing prices.
You want me to show people the book here?
Certainly, CalFacts.
Yeah, you can find it online.
You can find it online. And on housing, we had a huge run-up in housing prices in the start of the century. We peaked at just about 530,000 before the recession, and then prices tanked. They went all the way down to a median price of $300,000. Wow. The last 2 to 3 years, prices have really been booming again. We're back up to a median price of $430,000. So you can see California has these very strong cycles in housing.
Okay, but I think I was reading your report, that level though was the 2004 level, 431, so we just got back to where we were 10 years ago.
Except, think about this, a lot of people were concerned about the bubbles in housing, that did we want to go up that high? So the fact that we haven't reached that peak is not necessarily a bad thing.
Maybe not. Okay, what about the Great Recession? It had a big impact, obviously, on housing, but the other thing it had a big impact on was jobs. So has the state recovered all the jobs that were lost during the Great Recession?
Finally, we did, just this past year. It took us really 7 years to get back to the same job level or recover the $1.3 million jobs that we lost from the prior peak just before the recession. That's considerably longer than if you compare it with past recessions.
I was going to ask you that. What is it normally when you come out of a recession? How long is it typically to?
There's no normal, but if you look at the last 2 or 3, it's anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 years. So this was considerably longer because we'd fallen so far.
And so it took 7 years to come back. What are the reasons for that? Are there any particular specific reasons for that? I
think we had just fallen so far that you had people's asset positions had just been devastated with the loss of housing prices. So it was just a very tough, very deep recession, and not surprisingly, it took us longer to recover.
And the other thing that's interesting is that unemployment rate, while it's come down, it's not come down to pre-recession levels. Why is that? More people entering the job market with fewer jobs?
No,
or-
actually, we've had people, leave the market. We've had a reduction in our job participation rate. Certainly, in certain areas of the country, in the state, the Bay Area, San Diego, the Inland Empire, are doing much stronger than other areas such as the Valley.
For a more in-depth analysis of this and other public policy issues important to Californians, please log on to our website at maddyinstitute.org and click on the Policy Analysis tab.